Right, good evening everybody. This is a meeting of the Overview of the Scrutiny Commission of Basildon Council. We've got a few items on the agenda tonight. First of all, I must state this meeting is a meeting of the Council held in public. It is not a public meeting. There is no fire drill planned tonight, so if the alarm sounds, please leave by the exit nearest to the large screen at the front of the room. Proceed down the fire exit to the courtyard. We are recording the meeting this evening using our webcasting system. The webcast will be transmitted live and will also be available on the Council's website following the meeting. All mobile devices should now be switched off or set to silent so that the meeting is not interrupted by ringtones. Thank you. I know about the public gallery, so... Okay, thanks a lot. Right, first of all, apologies for absence.
Thank you, Chairman. An apology from apology from Councillor Walter Brown with Councillor Murphy as substitute. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much. Declarations of interest this evening. Anybody got any declarations of interest other than you might park cars in the council car parks? No. Item 3, minutes, pages 7 to 12 of the agenda. Confirmation of the minutes of the meeting of the ONS Commission held on the 28th of January. All those in favour, please show. Thank you very much. One abstention. Eddie. Thank you, Eddie. Okay. On first item on the agenda actually is the report of the work of the scrutiny function, the annual report, which has to go to council as well. It is for noting at this stage, unless anybody's got any major comments to make on it. I have written a foreword and I will comment on some of it because I would like to first of all thank the leader of the council in appointing myself and Councillor Barnes to be chairman and vice chairman of the commission, not being members of his administration. I believe that is the right decision for the scrutiny function. The work of the Commission since last May is detailed in the report, and I thank members of the Commission for their support. It's been an extremely busy year for the Council, with some items being dealt with urgently by the Cabinet that required me to approve the urgency which prevented calling arrangements applying. I would have liked more opportunity for ONS committees to have done more pre-scrutiny on the Cabinet's forward plans. I must thank Councillor Westwick and members of the Task and Finish group for the comprehensive work that they put into the report they produced on the Council's grounds maintenance contract. The work of the scrutiny committees is also detailed in the report, for which I thank them. Sometimes there can be some overlap between their remits and that of the Commission, and I will politely suggest the leader of the Council gives consideration as to whether he might review their remits for the next year. I must also thank officers of the Council for their support to the Commission, and in addition, Councillor Barnes, who stood in for me, thankfully, in December, and I appreciate that. Scrutiny is a really important role to play. We can be a critical friend of the administration, but we must feel free to speak on behalf of the residents across the borough for whom we are carrying out the scrutiny. And the report is detailed then in the agenda. Does anybody wish to have any comments? Councillor Barnes, switch off.
Thank you, Chair. I echo many of your comments, and I thank you for your able chairmanship throughout the year. The one thing that jumps out at me is, and you have touched on this in what you said, is that some of the scrutiny committees does seem to be that what they've actually dealt with is a little thin on the ground, and I would urge the administration perhaps to look at that and consider whether they need as many scrutiny committees going forward. And if they do, I think it's really important that they have clear remits in terms of what they're actually seeking to achieve. Because I know some of these committees haven't met as many times as this commission has, and that potentially does raise questions over sort of value for money and things like that. But yeah, broadly speaking, I think overall it's been a really positive year, and thank you for all of your assistance and help.
Thank you, Councillor Barnes. On occasions, I think, like you, I thought, could we have done a bit more? But I think we did quite well, really. Yeah. Councillor Baggott.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I'd just like to echo and pick up on some of Councillor Barnes's comments, because, as you know, you and I have worked on scrutiny over a considerable period of time through successive and different administrations, and scrutiny is absolutely fundamental to the way a good governance council operates. But it's a bit bizarre to me that the Policy Scrutiny Committee, which has only met once this year, cancelled its recent meeting on the reason that there were some policies being worked on, and until those policies were worked on, they weren't ready to bring to the Scrutiny Committee. Now, as you know, the whole point about scrutiny is to actually get in at the ground floor level with cabinet members or policy decision makers and actually give their input right from the get-go as to the shaping of policy. And that's not me saying that, that is the SIPFA Solis guidance on scrutiny. So there also needs to be, I think, an element of either training or input so that chairmen of the other committees do know what their remit is and can operate efficiently.
Thank you, Councillor Baggott. I think that will be noted. I think it is relevant. I think that one of the things I've mentioned is about pre-scrutiny, and this came about when the interim chief executive, when I met with him, we had a long discussion on scrutiny, and it was he who said to me, pre-scrutiny is much important as looking at things that have already happened. And this is where I would hope that in next year the forward plan for the Cabinet is produced much earlier rather than coming in too late with items, which means the pre-scrutiny cannot be done on those items if we're going to do scrutiny properly. Anybody else? If not, you're happy to note the report. Right, thank you very much. Right, now we come down to the simple thing of car parking. Can I just say, first of all, as Mrs. Voller's here to present a petition, before you present the petition, I think we will have an opening as to why we're here tonight. First of all, we are a Scrutiny Commission. We're not here to make any decisions. We can only make recommendations to the Cabinet member or the Leader of the Council to take action after our scrutiny. The reason car parking charge on the agenda was because in December there was a Cabinet decision that the Cabinet member look at this and take some action. And I'll ask Councillor McGovern to come in now to explain. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that. I'm grateful to be able to explain this because I think there's been a lot of misinformation and disinformation at times on social media. Social media can be a wonderful tool, but it can also be a right royal pain. Basically, we are doing this for a number of reasons. And first, to be absolutely clear, no one wants to increase charges or introduce charges where they are not presently being applied. No one does. But sometimes the cards you've got don't allow you to make those decisions. We inherited a very serious financial position from the previous administration, and whilst Conservative councillors can deny until they're blue in the face the fact that there is a £2.9 million black hole in the budget, there is a £2.9 million black hole in the budget. That's fact. We all know that. So we've got to do something about that, and sometimes that means difficult choices. So whilst I'm sorry to have to be the bearer of bad news on this occasion, I make no apologies for it. We have to do it. It's the responsible thing to do. Also, as well as the financial motivation for doing this, there are a number of other reasons. Our car parking charges across the borough, in terms of the car parks we control, because obviously we have no say over the ones we don't actually own and control, are inconsistent. So this is actually about making the system of car parking charges fairer and more equitable across the borough, rather than the rather inconsistent nature we've got at the moment. Having said all of that, there is a public consultation going on at the moment. James, remind me when it closes. Yeah, James will remind me in a minute. Caught him out there. Sorry about that, James. There's a public consultation going on at the moment. We welcome the opinions of residents. We will take on board what we can. having said that, you know, the financial situation is financial situation. And a lot of the points that have been raised, and I'm sure we'll come to this later, Mr. Chairman, we are dealing with. You know, we are aware of certain issues, particularly around Lake Meadows, because most of the focus seems to be around Lake Meadows, and I understand the reasons, some of the reasons for that. So there are issues around that. We are looking at some of those, and I think in some instances we may be able to make progress. But what I'm not going to do tonight is go, but there's, you know, a lot of people on social media are very upset by this, so we're not going to do it. It is going to happen, but we will listen and see what we can amend and adjust in order to make it more palatable. Is that enough for now, Mr. Chairman?
Thank you, Councillor McGowan. It is, because I think the point you've made is quite clear, and that is, any recommendation coming from the ONS tonight was exactly the same as part of the consultation, which closes on the 27th of March.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And, well, no, I think that's important to say that. And that is why I did invite the Wickford Town Council and the Billericay Town Council if they wish to send a representative tonight. I will tell you why, because I intend to make a proposal. But first of all, I think before I make the proposal, I would like to hear and have the presentation on the petition. You okay there?
Want to stand or sit?
Oh, normally, no, sit down. Yeah, positive.
I did wear my good trousers.
We just make sure you're on camera.
Okay. I've prepared a statement. Chairman, councillors and members of the community, I stand before you today on behalf of 1,600 residents, business owners, employees and visitors who have signed this petition to strongly oppose the removal of free weekend and evening parking in our council-run car parks in Billericay and Wickford. The decision, if implemented, will deal yet another blow to our already struggling high streets. They are the backbone of our economy and already face unprecedented challenges, rising rents, high business rates and fierce competition from online retailers and out-of-town shopping centres that offer free parking. Removing free parking from our town centres will further reduce footfall, making survival even harder for local businesses, which are already suffering from the loss of major stores, banks and independent traders. But our high streets are more than just places to shop. They are the heart of our community, where people gather, friendships are formed and livelihoods are sustained. Volunteer groups work tirelessly to enhance the environment, helping to maintain footfall and instil pride in our towns. Market traders, independent retailers and leisure facilities depend on steady visitor numbers, especially during weekends and evenings where parking is currently free. Introducing charges will deter these visitors, reducing trade, forcing more businesses to close and leading to job losses. Employees, many of whom are already on tight wages, will be forced to reconsider their jobs if they must pay just to park for work. Let's also not forget the impact on our town's nighttime economy. Restaurants, cafes, pubs, entertainment venues and fitness centres that create a vibrant social scene will suffer. If visitors face additional parking fees, they will simply choose destinations where parking remains free. A thriving economy is vital not just for businesses but for the safety and vibrancy of our town centres. If we lose this in the evenings, our high streets risk becoming deserted after dark. It is also important to mention the impact of the parking charges at Lake Meadows, which will threaten the highly popular weekly park run and the use of the park for leisure facilities. Parks are key to our well-being and community inclusion and should be accessible to all. Furthermore, removed free parking won't just affect those willing to pay. Many drivers will seek alternative free parking in nearby residential streets, causing congestion, safety hazards and frustration for local residents. The high streets themselves will become clogged with vehicles circling for free spots or parking illegally, increasing pollution and making the area less welcoming for pedestrians and shoppers. We must also consider the long-term consequences. As more businesses close and fewer people choose to visit or live in the area, the local economy will shrink, reducing vital contributions from business rates and local spending. This isn't just about parking, it's about the sustainability and the future of our local towns. We recognise the financial pressures councils face, but revenue-raising measures should not come at the expense of our community's prosperity. Across various recent reports and publications, Basildon Council has pledged to support local economies in line with government white papers promoting their importance, yet this proposal directly contradicts that commitment. We urge you to listen to the voices of those who have signed this petition and consider retaining free parking whilst introducing a limited stay duration. This will prevent abuse while ensuring availability for genuine visitors using our high street facilities. We urge you to explore alternate ways to manage council finances that do not harm our town centres. We urge you to publicly commit to finding solutions that support rather than undermine the future of Billericay and Wickford towns. Thank you.
I'll now ask the chairman of the Wickford Town Council for comments. Are you okay over there, Derek?
Yes, fine, thank you. This is where I was put. I'd like to thank the chair of the committee for inviting Wickford Town Council to attend and speak on this subject. The leaflet, A Guide to Basildon Council's Budget 2025-26, under Regenerating Our Town Centres, says, we want our town centres to be vibrant places where businesses thrive and local people choose to spend their time. That is why we are investing in our local high streets. This is supported by our town centre master plan, and I'll stop there because the town centre master plan is just Basildon, not Wickford and Billericay. That statement that has been sent to everybody that pays council tax goes against this strategy for car parking goes against that statement. Now, Wickford have advocated for free parking to be changed so that we get limited parking for certain periods, mainly on Saturdays, to prevent people taking advantage and parking free and travelling to London and to football matches, which is what has been happening. The administration, knowing that they were to change parking charges in Billericay and Wickford, could have had a dialogue with both town councils before the event rather than after our budgets were agreed and submitted for inclusion within Basildon's budget, not waiting until after implementation. Asking the area committees, which is what has been said, I believe, on Facebook, to contribute partial free parking is giving with one hand and taking away with the other. Also, why should visitors to Billericay and Wickford swimming pools and gyms have to pay when the sporting village is free? Are not Billericay and Wickford residents subsidising free parking within the borough? The statement of reasons for change in parking refers to 2025-2026 financial year and beyond. Wickford, when we had a co-op supermarket, they had approximately 100 parking spaces dedicated for the users of that supermarket. If the proposed application for a new supermarket goes ahead, those 100 parking spaces will be lost and will be taken away from the 250 that the town council has. You're nodding your head, Mr. Chairman, but that is a fact. There were those.
Councillor, because we're not going to start discussing the benefits or not of a planning application which has only been submitted and not been discussed by the council, and that is purely your particular opinion on that particular planning application, which may not be the view when it's actually granted or refused.
Okay, thank you. I'll take your point. Wickford has fewer parking spaces according to the documents here, something like 139 spaces less than Billericay. So if the
Are you talking about the council's car parks or just car parking?
council car parking, yes, this is what we're talking about tonight.
Well, the Billericay short stay car park is 217, I think, and the two in the Wickford ones come to 279 places.
The Billericay High Street is 241, Radford is 106 and Lake Meadows 119, making 466. Wickford main car park is 250, Wickford Pool 48, Ladygate 29, making 327, a difference of 139.
Mr Henry will explain that because the figures I've got from the council's fees and charges pages.
Thank you, Chairman. So the numbers I have in front of me are 119 Lake Meadows, 107 Radford Crescent, 241 Billericay High Street, 48 Wickford Pool, 250 Wickford Main, and 29 Wickford Ladygate. So. Yeah.
Those were the figures that I quoted.
Okay. That's the case. Some of the figures on the fees and charges pages are wrong. Councillor.
As an octogenarian, I personally don't use apps, credit or debit cards for general everyday purchases. So taking away the option for cash payments for parking does discriminate against me and other people, contrary to what is said. We have replied to the leader's letter and Wickford Town Council is happy to discuss with him the way forward, but would need full costings for any partial fee parking contribution before consideration. I would ask that these proposed changes be put on hold until full costings and the way forward could be discussed and agreed. Thank you.
Thank you. I just had a thought. You didn't present the petition. I don't know what you do with it. We've never had one presented before. I haven't. Sorry.
Yeah, we've received it electronically.
You take it electronically. Okay. Just making sure it's all been done properly. Right. There on in, I'm going to make a proposal to put to for the Commission to put to the relevant Cabinet member that the following changes be made, and I'm talking about the short-term car parking because I'll carry on from what the Town Council has said, and I know that they have been on Facebook stating this frequently, and from my experience each Saturday morning about 10 to 9 when the Wickford main car park is, you might find a couple of spaces, and if you leave at 10:30, if you found a space, you'll find cars queuing up to come in, turning round and going straight out because there's no parking available. I don't know if that applies to Billericay, but it definitely applies to Wickford, to the main car park and the Ladygate car park. And it is caused by people, it's near the station, it's much, obviously free, it's much cheaper than paying at the station, and we need to solve that problem. This is what I'm proposing, if the Commission wants to put it at all to as part of the consultation, that there be 4 hours free parking in the Wickford main car park, the Wickford Ladygate car park and the Billericay High Street short stay car park on Saturdays and Sundays from 8 AM until 12 noon, after which normal charges will apply. The suggestion is, because I'm a great believer in saying, well, if you're going to do it, the finances have got to be found. Finances have got to be found. And my suggestion is the 2 hours of free parking is funded by the Billericay and Wickford area committees from their revenue fund for 25-26, which is in the budget. in the sum of £15,000 each for 2 hours. I've already approached the chairman of the Wickford Area Committee, and it will be on the agenda of the Wickford Area Committee on the 27th of March. This isn't making a decision to do it, it's a proposal. It was also suggested the Wickford Town Council and Billericay Town Council might consider a contribution for the other 2 hours in the same sum. It was also suggested that now the Billericay and Wickford bids are operating and collecting money on behalf of the businesses, they may wish to contribute as well. Is Councillor Jeffrey getting all this down for me? I see you're busy on your phone typing it all in, but it'd be on the webcam, so you haven't got to worry about it. Doing your social media. Okay? These are suggestions. And that the other bit is that the proposed evening charges in the Wickford Main Car Park, the Wickford Ladygate Car Park and the Billericay High Street Short Stay Car Park be revoked. The reason being that the parking restrictions in high streets and surrounding areas ends at 6 p.m. and car parking is more likely to take place, as it does already probably, in these roads to avoid charges. I see that Wickford High Street will be just chock-a-block. Why go in the car park and pay when you can park in the high street after 6 o'clock? I myself, not recently, but always have parked in Station Avenue in Wickford when we've gone to London in the evening, because it's after 6 o'clock and it's close to the station. You don't pay at the station. Also, that the removal of the 30-minute charge in the Wickford Ladygate car park be revoked. I've had pressure from quite a few senior citizens on the basis they use this when they just pop to the baker's, just pop over to the bank and go back in 30 minutes. They're suggestions. Now, the reason I've gone to these figures of £15,000 is the page 110 of the fees and charges states that for 2025-26, £411,000 is the total estimated income for short stay parking for Monday to Friday. Now, I've worked out that what that equates to over a week, etc., etc., and on the basis that if 1,000 vehicles, for instance, use the Wickford Main and Ladygate car park for 4 hours for free, the lost income would equate to 114,000. I'm assuming, and I'm using the figures I used before for the numbers, assume that the car park spaces, the 279 places could all be filled all the time, the lost income for those whole 4 hours would be £30,000. Now, the finance paper may disagree with that, but when you actually published the cabinet member's decision, you didn't actually put on anywhere on that decision what the estimated income was. So I've had to work backwards on what the income would have been based on the figures from Monday to Friday. So that's my proposal. I'll bring people in. I'll bring a councillor who had his hand up as I started speaking, then Councillor Baggott. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harris. So just a quick point of clarification. I understand you're saying where we suggest that the money comes from for the 4 hours free on Saturdays and Sundays. Would that cover there was 2 other suggestions you had around the revocation after 6 p.m. and I think the Wickford Ladygate car park. Is there? Yeah, how would that be funded? Just so I understand. Sorry.
I'm speaking on both car parks. So the total number of places I worked out was 279 places in the Wickford and the Ladygate. And I'm assuming, on my figures, they're pretty full most of the time. So if you get the 4 hours free and they're full and you're losing £1.10, you may be losing £1.50 or £1.60 on some occasions. That's why I worked it out first of all and I came to under £30,000. But I then upped it again a little bit to cater for the ones who would buy to pay for 2 hours if it hadn't been free. I was trying to be fair. Councillor Baggott.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I mean, I know your heart's in the right place here. I know you're trying to do the right thing, but I can't support your proposals for very simple reasons. The first one being, I know the area committees was your brainchild to actually bring in the first place, and the principle behind the area committees is quite sound. But what we've seen so far with the area committees this year is the administration going, we can't really afford to do the crunch, the area committees will do it. Oh, the council can't afford to do Christmas trees, the area committees will do it. Carol singing, the area committees will do it. So the area committees are being dictated to by the administration as to what their priorities are, irrespective to whether the public want them or not. And now we've got another one, which is, can't do the car parking, the area committees will do it. And it's become almost like the administration thinks that the area committees are some sort of magic money tree. They've given a budget, it's a finite budget. The public have got now an expectation of what they would like to see from the area committees for their area. And I think it is very, very bad form for us to turn around to say an organisation that wants to actually fund something for its community, sorry, we can't do that, we've run out of budget because we're actually fulfilling administration priorities. So that's the first reason I can't support it. The second reason is, and this is from a scrutiny point of view, I know you've put a lot of work into that when you read that out, but that went completely above my head. And this isn't the way to do business. We can't do policy based upon hearing a proposal as it is without any costings, understanding the ramifications. I mean, I don't understand, for instance, from what you've said, how you would actually police or understand what the income is that's coming in. I know Councillor McGurran's point of view, he wants to bring some money into the council. And I get that, I totally get that. But of course, if nobody actually parks there, the council receives zero as a revenue. So this is just a way of saying, let the area committees give Councillor McGurran some money. And that's not right either. You know, so without seeing a proper worked up proposal, which could be debated, my proposal would be that the whole parking charge is put on hold for 6 months so that it can be properly costly reviewed and options can be come to. I think the consultation here is flawed. The administration has talked about other consultations it's done which have been very successful, and more power to them. And yet I haven't met a single person that's contacted me that when I said, well, are you responding to the consultation, that knows how to find it or where it is. So the other thing we could do as a public service tonight is actually inform the public via this webcast and everything else where the consultation is so they can actually be heard and give their viewpoints. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Baggott. Of course, that's interesting coming from you when your group actually don't want area committees, but you want to spend the money they get, but you don't want that to actually to have the committees, you know, which I find rather strange. Rather strange. Can I just say this? Have you looked at why there's a consultation? It's required under the traffic regulations and has to go ahead in this form. And if you read the documentation first. That is why all I can do tonight, or we can do tonight, it's not set. I'm saying revoke the charges, do this, do that. Put that in as part of the consultation if that's your view. I'm asking the Commissioner to come to a view which might give people some free parking. And it's easy to revoke, just to revoke anything. That's the easy option, without saying anywhere where the money's going to come from. That's the easy option. That's the George Jeffrey approach for the council meeting on Thursday night. Don't say where the money's coming from. Let's just do it, you know? And I actually believe it's sensible to make a proposition. If the cabinet member doesn't like the proposition, he won't accept it. He won't do anything. You'll have the charges. You won't have the free parking. If he listens to some of it, we might get some free parking. It's to try to get something. And I think that's important. I didn't have to bring this to the Commission tonight. I thought it was important. I steered clear on social media completely about this, other than informing Mrs. Voller that I was bringing it to the ONS Commission this evening. That's the only thing I actually put out on social media. Nothing else at all. So I think if you didn't understand what I said, I'm quite happy to read it again. I'm quite happy to put it to the vote. I'm quite happy if no one supports it. I've tried. I've spent the last week going through all the figures and trying to work out exactly, can we do something? Because at the moment it's terrible down in Wickford especially. I'm not sure about Billericay. It's terrible down in Wickford on a Saturday, and it's not because the car park is full, and it's not because there's thousands of people in the high street. They're not in the high street, and everyone knows that. They're on trains, they've gone, they've disappeared. Councillor Barnes, first of all.
Thank you, Chairman. I mean, at the end of the day, I think if I don't think we should be attacking councillors who haven't got the right to reply at this meeting tonight. So I think, you know, whatever Councillor Jeffrey may or may not have done is not relevant. But we are in a position where the national government has increased business rates. You know, we had a 75% discount. It's gone down to 40%, and now it's going it's going completely. It's going completely. We've got the NI increases. We just seem to be kicking retailers and small businesses and high streets when they're down to raise 168 grand, which in the long scheme of things, I'm sure there are other opportunities to save that kind of money. And I can't support your proposal, Chair, because I actually think that the free car parking is something that gives local retailers in Billericay and Wickford that slight edge that they need against the massive retail parks in places like Lakeside and Bluewater. At least they've got at least they know that they've got the free parking and they're a little bit close to home, which means that they can bring in additional revenue. And this takes that away. Leaving aside the stuff to do with the you know, the community issues and all the rest of it. Charging for parking in the evenings, I just don't think that makes any sense whatsoever. I think it'll have a huge impact on the nighttime economy, and to be perfectly honest with you, it sounds like the level of revenue it's going to raise is absolutely negligible. Two other questions for the Cabinet member when it comes to, sorry, one question first of all, just around the process. Have Shotgate been involved in this? I wonder if you might let us know, Chairman, if you've contacted them.
I haven't contacted.
No, okay, fine, all right. So Shotgate haven't been involved in this. One thing I will say, and it's a practical point. If you're not, you know, I think that you should use the increase in the business rates revenue to cover these costs. I don't think it should be for the area committees to cover what is essentially revenue spend. And I think that if you are going to charge for parking, then you should address some of the issues that exist within these car parks. One example would be the Iceland car park in Billericay, which has got car parking spaces that just simply do not fit modern cars. So I would ask the Cabinet member to, at the very least, if he is going to hit residents with these charges, that he at least makes sure that the car parks themselves are fit for purpose.
Before I bring Councillor Baggett in, can I bring Mr Sparks in on the question of business rates paying for it?
So with the changes to business rates reliefs, again, the council doesn't directly benefit from that. That gets paid at central government. We still get the allocation based on the previous assumptions. Unfortunately, we don't get that.
Councillor Baggett, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. And respectfully, I mean, you missed the point. And there was, whether my group agrees or disagrees with the area committees is immaterial to the fact that we're here, and the conversation and the debate was about what the area committees were being used for. Now, you've already said when you actually did your working, and I'm sure you did the working, then there was confusion between yourself and the officer as to which figures were correct. So how can we vote for something when we don't even know which figures are correct? So what I was saying is proper governance is getting it right first time and making the right decision. That's what I was saying on that. And the other thing is, which is the law of unintended consequence, is I have had email after email from community groups that are now saying that they're going to be potentially cancelling community events. I've just sent Councillor McGurran, I realise you won't have seen it, from the Friends of Lake Meadows with regard to the consequences as they see it. The cafe owner in Lake Meadows is now projecting, he can't be for sure, but projecting a potential downturn in income of over 30%, which would potentially cause him to close. So there are real economic effects to the decision that is being made. And what I'm saying is, rather than just do it on the hoof, we should be making sure that it's right and it's the right decision. And Councillor Barnes is absolutely right. It raises £168,000 potentially. So the catastrophic cost for the decision against the very, very small incoming decision, the scales just don't balance up on that. And that's what scrutiny should be there, to provide that check and balance and say, has this decision been made right What are the consequences of it? Are there other ways of doing things? And that's what scrutiny should be about. That's what I was saying. Now, I'm sorry that you don't agree with that, but that's what I was saying.
Thank you, Councillor Baggott. Let me just say this. This is, if the Commission agrees, asking, as part of the consultation, for the Cabinet member to consider 4 hours of free parking in the Wickford main car park on a Saturday and Sunday, and purely a suggestion how he might find financing for it. Not telling him he's got to go and find financing for it in that way. It's a suggestion. It's a suggestion. And I think that's important. It also states quite clearly we'd ask him to revoke the evening charges if the Commission agreed to what I've said. It would also ask him to remove the 30-minute charge in the Wickford Ladygate car park. That's the basis of what I put forward, nothing else. The other suggestions were purely how it might be financed. If the Town Council, the area committees, don't want to do anything, fair enough. If he then wants to go ahead with what I've suggested, with the 4 hours free parking, etc., he will have to find the funding. But this is proper scrutiny in saying this is the way you could do it. If you don't do it this way, you find a better way. We'll look at that again, perhaps, if he comes back with a better way. We're not prejudging what decision he's going to make until the consultation closes. Otherwise, I think we were in breach of the traffic regulations that require the consultation. Councillor Barr.
Well, I mean, perhaps a more appropriate forum, if we are going to suggest, make suggestions around specifics of policy, would be a task and finish or a working group.
If this had come up 7 months ago, yes, but not on the 18th of March when the consultation, we're taking part in the consultation, which closes on the 27th of March. That consultation period is agreed with the traffic commissioners. Councillor McGurran.
Yeah, a few things, if I may, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I think it's important for residents to know, some of whom I think have been misled on this issue, that the Conservatives are up in arms about this. They're leading the charge, pitchforks in hand, smocks at the ready, but they could have called in this decision and they didn't. Now, I don't know why that is. It'd be wrong to speculate. But they're certainly making plenty of political capital out of it now. So maybe that's why they didn't bother calling the decision in. I'd also like to say thank you to the chairman of Councillor Harrison, because what I've heard tonight is very constructive, and I appreciate it. And I'll be honest with you, because we both are quite straight-talking individuals, as you know. Some of what you're suggesting, I think, may well fly. Some may not. But we will take all of it away, if that's what the Commission decides, and look at it. Because as I said at the beginning, there's a number of issues that's been raised that we're already looking at. It's not like we're not aware of some of these issues. We are looking at them where we can improve the issues, particularly around 1 or 2 issues around Lake Meadows, better, and not just Lake Meadows, but that's the one that seems to be attracting most attention. Then we will. But may I address some of the issues that have been raised tonight, or would you rather I left it at that? I have an opportunity on Thursday night, so it's entirely up to you,
I think the opportunity to cover the issues will be not here, because that's a council matter.
That'll be,
tonight it's a commission matter.
Okay.
I will say this from what you've said. When I looked at the Cabinet member decision, I sat back and actually waited for a call-in. I was certain there would be a call-in on it. I was absolutely certain. It didn't happen, so we didn't have a call-in. And because we didn't have a call-in, I still thought it was proper that the Commission discussed it. Because if it had a call-in, we'd have had to set a special meeting of the Commission to deal with the call-in. But instead we had a Commission here tonight. It has meant that we now put stuff off tonight to go to the 8th of April, but so be it. Thank you.
Yes, please, Chair, if that's okay.
Go on then, if you want to.
Thank you. It's just a question really more than a comment. Obviously, noting the report, you say that work has already been undertaken, particularly around benchmarking. So I was wondering if the officers or the Cabinet member could explain to the committee, again, how do we perform against other high street shopping districts such as Chelmsford and Colchester? I think there was a news article recently that I think Colchester's at full occupancy, and I think if you were to kind of follow the logic of kind of, you know, high car parking charges, those areas should be ghost towns. So I'm wondering if you could explain more about how we perform against others.
Can I come in first and I'll hand over to James, who's probably got even more information at hand than I have. Be very grateful you don't live in Chelmsford or Brentwood. And also be very grateful if you're a user of Lake Meadows that it's not an Essex County Council country park, because the week before last they announced their charges. So for an hour to park at an Essex country park like Thorndon Park in Brentwood, whatever, will go up from £2.80 to £3. For 2 hours it'll go up from £4 to £4.20, and up to 4 hours £5.20 to £5.30. They did have the good grace for all-day parking to keep it at £6.30. So again, context is important, but in terms of if James wants to come in with into specifics about the high street parking in Chelmsford and other nearby places, then that's fine. But you know, we are certainly not outliers. We are actually cheaper than most of the surrounding areas.
Do you wish to come back, Councillor Ansell?
Nothing to add, Chair, thank you.
To add? Okay. Mr Hendry.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for your question, Councillor. So, when looking at options available for us around car parking, it is important to look at what others are doing and how things compare. The charges for car parking aren't the only thing that attract people to a location. There are a number of reasons that people would visit an area. That changes depending on your level of footfall, but the attractiveness and the welcoming environment and ultimately things to do are the things that attract people in, and it's not you know, there's not a straight bell curve that talks between the car parking charges and the number of footfall you get and the visitors you get. Comparing this with some of our neighbouring authorities and similar authorities, Basildon Borough is underserved in terms of the amount of parking spaces available for the population size we have. When comparing ourselves with Chelmsford, Chelmsford has 6,000 parking spaces available across the city for a similar sized population. Southend has 8,000 for a similar sized population as well. But in terms of the short stay tariffs, I know them from the benchmarking activities we've undertaken with other authorities. The proposed rates are on the lower end of what other neighbouring authorities are charging. The average across all Southend sites, for example, is £1.30 for the first hour across sites, but that does vary greatly depending on the location. Obviously, the seafront locations charge a lot more than some of the you know, the more you know, further out of town ones, but they are all higher than the proposals that are currently out to consultation.
Councillor Ansell, are you happy with that?
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Okay.
Well, everybody's talking about call-in, so I might as well address the call-in. Now, I don't pretend to be an expert, but you can't call in a decision because you don't like it. You can't call a decision in because it's a bit unpopular. You call in a decision based upon the process geared against the criteria that's laid down.
Yep.
And when looking at it, much though we don't like the decision, much though we think it's the wrong decision, the process, which is to set it in the budget and to make a decision as part of the budget, is correct. So therefore, even if we'd have called it in, the balance of probability is it would have been rejected on the basis that the criteria for it, the bar was met. However, what you've now got is a consultation which hasn't been followed. You've got a proposal coming from the Chairman of Scrutiny, which is just a suggestion which has got no real legitimacy unless you actually formalise it, do it as a motion, do it as a vote. So if, for instance, we came now and then a decision was made, it would be eligible for call-in because your process is all over the place. But the reason it wasn't called in is because just because we didn't like the decision doesn't mean you call something in.
I think you could have called it in because the line in the budget was only for Monday to Friday parking. This went to Saturday payment. This went to Saturday and Sunday parking.
Then why didn't you call it in?
Why didn't you call it?
Why didn't I call it in? I didn't wish to call it in. I don't think it's the role of the chairman of the commission to do the call-ins. That's the role of members. There's 6 or 7 options in which you can do a call-in. That's an easy option to sit there and that's a night council of Bards and say, we didn't do it, why didn't you do it? Anybody else wish to come in? It's my job. Yes, it is, and I chair this. I chair this responsibly as a member of the opposition. I don't need you to tell me how to do it. Thank you very much. I'm now going to put it to the vote. To recommendation, as part of the consultation on the 27th, but closed on the 27th of March, that there be 4 hours free parking in the Wickford main car park, the Wickford Ladygate car park and the Billericay High Street short stay car parks on Saturdays and Sundays from 8 AM until 12 noon, after which normal charges will apply. That the proposed evening charges in the Wickford main car park, the Wickford Ladygate car park, the Billericay High Street short stay car park be revoked for the reasons I said about a 6 PM in the roads, and that the removal of the 30-minute charge in the Wickford Ladygate car park be revoked. In the report, I will add in the minutes the reasons I put forward for the proposals, and then it's up to the cabinet member to decide, do I listen to them or do I not listen to them? They've made suggestions. Do I approach those people? Do I not approach those people? As I said, the chairman of the Wickford Area Committee has put it on the agenda. No decision made, put it on the agenda. The chairman of the Town Council indicated to me he's put it on the agenda for the Town Council meeting on the 31st of March. Unless you're taking it off again now.
Yeah, I've said it's going on the agenda, but until tonight we didn't have any figures, and the figures that you have given of £15,000, I can't make a decision on that. It's up to...
Councillor, I'm not asking you to make a decision.
No.
All I'm pointing out is... Can you put the thing down for me, please? All I'm pointing out is that you were kind enough to indicate to me that the item would be an agenda item. Not the detail of the agenda item, but that it would be an agenda item, exactly the same as the chairman of the area committee for Wickford has given me the same indication. Nothing else. Okay? Now, we're going to take a vote now.
Well, we're not, Chairman, because what you've given there is an instruction for us to vote on, which we're not empowered to do. You said we can give a suggestion. You haven't actually put in that recommendation there that this is a suggestion to go to the cabinet member. You've said this is an instruction, which is completely different. And this committee cannot vote on an instruction.
Baggott, you must listen to what I say. I never used the word instruction. I said suggestion.
No, you didn't. You didn't use the word suggestion once. Then.
Okay. It's a suggestion. The suggestions are how it might be covered to the tune of £30,000. Okay? That's the Wickford one. £30,000 will be the tune, on my figures, whether they're accurate or not, I don't know. They will check the figures and work it out, say, no, that was utter rubbish. So I'm sure other people, when they put their signed this petition, and I will just say on the petition, I assume all the people who signed it, because you did indicate they're residents and visitors, I assume they're all residents of the borough, because if they're not, we shouldn't be taking the petition, as I understand it. Okay. So it's the suggestions I've made separately, okay, of how it might be covered. I think I made that clear 3 times.
You have now.
4 times then, now. Okay. I'll put it to the vote. May lose it, I don't know. All those in favour, please show. Thank you, I'm surprised, but thank you. Okay. I hope that Councillor McGowan will listen to what we've said. I hope he will listen to what is said by the petitioners. I hope at the end of the day, by the time this actually comes in, and can I say the 1st of April, it can't come in on the 1st of April, with the consultation ending on the 27th of March. And the questions, other questions about the way it operates, I think, are a separate entity without knowing the full details of what the machines are, how they're made, where they come from, exactly what they are, you know. And whilst the chairman has raised the question there of ticketless machines, that will become another option possibly, because SEP, and I can't chase SEP at this stage to say how are you going to police that. That's a matter of the service agreement we have to have with SEP and how they police it. Okay.
Chairman, I'd like to record my vote against.
Sorry?
I'd like to record my vote against, if I may.
Yes, I was going to do that and I stopped. All those against, please show. That was just my surprise. That was sorry, Ed. 2. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for a very good meeting. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mrs. Voller. Obviously, oh, we've got a work programme, sorry. Forgot about the work programme. It's all gone to the 8th of April, that's why. My apologies, members. Pages 37 to 40. Anybody wish to add anything to the work programme? Okay. All those in favour of the work programme, please show.
Just for noting.
For noting, it's for noting. Okay, it's for noting. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emma. It was for noting.